Hi again. We're in Newcastle in the UK again today, mate, and it's that time of the year, isn't it? Time to celebrate! Well, I don't know about you, but after what I'm about to tell you, it might change your mind. I mean, it's not for me to say whether you should or shouldn't have a drink this Christmas, and you know, truth be told, I reckon I might have one or two myself. Yeah, you heard me. I've done a full year sober, yet I might actually have a glass of wine tonight when I catch up with some friends. I mean, yeah, I could keep going with it and not have a drink, but if I do have a drink, it's basically like the least amount possible to drink in a year, isn't it? And no doubt I'll probably not have another drink again until next Christmas after feeling how good it is to go a year without it. You see, this way having a drink becomes a special occasion, you see? Oh, and by the way, mate, I've not been doing this sobriety because of any addiction in the past or to save money, if that's what you're thinking. I've been doing it for my health. Well, that and the fact that it's one of the best forms of self-improvement there is. I mean, I'm not sure there's any other activity that when you remove it, it brings so much extra productivity. And I'm not just talking about the days you'd normally have spent hungover. Like, I'm talking about how your focus improves, your physical health and your well-being improves. Plus, my favourite of all, the fact that it forces you to become more naturally sociable, which then improves your core confidence. And that spills over into all areas of your life. It's great. A way I like to think of not drinking for a year or even for a few months is that it's a bit like taking your brain in for a full service the way you would with a car, you know? Like everything just runs better after a couple of months off the booze. And because of these benefits, I can't really think of any time where I've actually missed it. I mean, that's not to say there wasn't a couple of moments in the summer on a hot sunny day when everyone was clinking their beers together and I was clinking my soda and water and wondering if everyone's secretly having more fun than me. Like, I'd be lying if I said that thoughts hadn't run through my head that were like, am I the one with a clear head here and a slightly better grip on reality but coming across as a wet blanket? I referred to it the other day as sometimes feeling a bit like a ghost at a funeral, but like a ghost where I'm also learning to dance. Like a bit awkward, but at the same time liberating. It's mad though, isn't it, how so many people see it as completely normal to drink every weekend. I love how that podcast guy Chris Williams says alcohol's the only drug where if you don't do it, people assume you have a problem. Like they can't believe you choose to not drink and that you must be hiding behind some dependency. It's pretty bonkers when you think about it. Oh, and mate, don't even get me started on the unseen events what take place in a proper alcoholic's life. Like, I've never actually been an alcoholic, but I've seen some of the grim shit that goes on behind closed doors before they start the day. Or should I say before they start the sesh for the day. The hours on the toilet, the intermittent vomiting, and the heaving while the body's desperately trying to get rid of all the poison. The hands that won't stop shaking. The desperate need to put some actual real food in the body but with zero desire or appetite. And also the desperate need to share their alcoholic ramblings with other people only to quickly fall into a drunken stupor. In fact, for a lot of people, most of which are non-alcoholics, they use alcohol as a crutch, don't they? Like to bring out that social side, to put on an extroverted act. If only those people would put the time and effort into being outgoing without it, they'd actually cultivate a natural social confidence. And they'd soon realise how much healthier you feel on a week to monthly to yearly basis. But you know, I get it. Most people don't have the luxury of working when they want, and who knows, if I was having to work a 40-hour week in a stressful job, maybe I'd want to have a drink at the weekend too. I mean, ultimately this comes down to personal choices, doesn't it? It's the personal choices they've made in life. But I guess we're getting a bit off topic if we go down that route. All I can really tell you, mate, is my own experience of not drinking for a year, which if we were to do this chronologically, I'd say the first couple of weeks, if you're used to drinking regularly, then you're probably going to feel a bit like a wounded animal searching for comfort elsewhere. But instead of reaching for a pint, you're actually reaching for an existential epiphany, you know? But that's nothing compared to when you actually go out with your mates for the first time without alcohol. Then it can feel a bit like you're not part of the club anymore. Except here's the craziest thing. You're actually more in the club than you've ever been, because you're seeing it for what it really is. It's a bunch of people using alcohol as a coping mechanism. And no doubt if some of those people heard me now, they'd be shaking their heads saying they just like the taste, or it barely does any harm to your body. But to be honest, I reckon that's a rationalisation because they've got to find some excuse for regularly poisoning their brains, haven't they? I'm just glad that you're like me and you want to have a healthy brain. And I'll tell you, after a few months you really start to notice the difference. Like you begin to feel everything better. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the world around you becomes more real. And I'm sure to an alcoholic that sounds scary because they're so used to living in this kind of numbed world. But if they could hear me now, I'd be telling them, listen friend, when you cut out the drink there comes a kind of silence, a space for everything else to come in. The creativity, the ideas, the connection with other people, the ability to have a meaningful conversation without being so distracted by your own internal chaos. The chance to create healthy habits that don't constantly get prevented by hangovers. It's all great stuff. As opposed to the bad stuff that happens because of alcohol, the arguments, the fights, the losing your keys, the silly things that you say that you would never normally say in a healthy, rational mind. It's like peeling off layers of yourself, and each layer is uncomfortable but exhilarating. You begin to see yourself without the crutch of alcohol, and although it can be frightening in a way, it's also wonderful at the same time. But honestly, here's the kicker. It's not even about being sober or not sober, it's about being present. It's about learning to live without running away from yourself. So yeah, a year without booze? To me, it's felt a bit like breaking out of a cage, but then realising that real freedom isn't about what you don't have, it's about what you do have. And that's the ability to choose consciously how you live, without any distractions. And that, mate, that's priceless.